back to the channel, guys. Today it's Q&A day, so I figured instead of just doing a regular Q&A, I would just do my makeup at the same time because I'm planning on possibly taking some photos later or shooting some more video content and stuff, so we're just gonna do this. So we're killing two birds with one stone. I'm gonna do my very basic everyday look that I've been doing though, which I have gotten requests for. It's very like natural, you know, it still kind of looks like your skin, very glowy. I actually asked on YouTube this time for your questions, so I have some from there, and then I also do have some supplemental questions from Instagram, so let's get into it. If this is your first time here though, please make sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any other videos. I'm filming in kind of like a new spot today just because like all my makeup is here and it's just easier to kind of sort through, so let me know what you guys think. I just applied my moisturizer though, Kiehl's Ultra Facial Cream. Gonna apply some sunscreen as well because I might go outside later. I'm just gonna list all the products that I used down below because I'm not really gonna focus on that in this video since it is a Q&A and you guys have a lot of really good questions. So actually, before we do get into it, I want to give a quick mention to the charity that I'm working with this year with Islamic Relief USA to raise food packages or money for food packages for our Muslim brothers and sisters in Ethiopia. We're so close to our $10,000 goal. We surpassed our $5,000 goal and I've made a new one, so I would love your help and support with that. Definitely give whatever you can, even as little as $1. $75 is enough to sponsor an entire family for the month of Ramadan, to give food for them or like provide food for them. So, you know, if you'd like to do that, then there's immense rewards in it. But if not, like I mentioned, $1 is more than enough, and there's all the details through the link in the top of my description. So many questions on marriage that you guys have asked. I feel like that's always a common theme, so I will get into those, but first I want to just get into some other questions. So someone asked, why did I decide not to invest in property in the United States? I think it's a very good decision to at least invest in either the US or Canada. So I totally agree with you. It's definitely a really great idea to invest in property in the US or Canada. The reason why I chose not to, at least for the time being, I've mentioned a little bit in a past vlog, but honestly, it's just a seller's market right now, and I feel like that's kind of a trend throughout the US and Canada actually, but specifically in Los Angeles, which is where I reside, it is a seller's market. And what that means is that, you know, if you have a house and you're selling it, you're gonna make an amazing profit from it. You're gonna get like, you know, the same, if not way more than what you actually paid for the home. And you know, a lot of homes are selling for hundreds and thousands of dollars over asking. And the reason I know this is because I was in the housing market. You know, I was, you know, planning on buying a home at the end of 2021. That was kind of like my dream and my goal for that year. But subhanAllah, I mean, just like everything happens with God's will and, you know, how God wills it for us, and it just wasn't in the cards for me. Like I mentioned, because it's a seller's market, I want to make sure that when I'm buying my home, like let alone my first home, I'm actually making a good investment because I'm really young. I'm 26 years old. I'm turning 27 this year. So the chances of me finding my forever home right now are very slim. So when I'm looking at homes to purchase, I'm looking at like, what is their investment potential? Like, what is the potential of me making a profit when I inevitably sell it in the next like 3 to 5 years, for example? You know, obviously life goals can change, and I just didn't think it would be the smartest decision. Now, I do think I would want to get into investment properties, but I just don't know if I would like to do that like as the first home that I purchase. I think I would want like my first home purchase to be something for me, something that I would live in and grow in for even a small amount of time, because it's an exciting first step into, you know, life, and I want to be able to experience that for myself, not like have the stress of purchasing a home just to then flip it or invest or like, you know, get tenants or whatever it is. So that is the main reason as to why you know, I chose not to invest in property. at the end of the last year. So the place I live in right now, although it is a condo, I don't own it. I think maybe some people were confused about that. I am still renting, but I'm very content with that. I use majority of my home for business. Like this entire room, this was like the master bedroom and bathroom of this condo. And I use it for business. I use it for my work. I use it to film. I use it for, you know, housing a lot of my wardrobe and stuff like that. So because of that, I'm actually able to write off a portion of my rent, which is amazing and something I wouldn't be able to do if I had a mortgage. So, you know, although it may seem like a bad financial decision for a lot of people, for me personally, it actually is a great financial decision to rent instead of buy right now. And I think I also never mentioned the fact that like I actually did kind of purchase a home back in 2020. And obviously, you know, with my divorce, things fell through. And I learned a lot of things about the home buying process. I was actually in the process of building a home, and it was actually almost complete. I ended up losing, I think it was $25,000 from that, because by the time everything went down, I unfortunately wasn't able to pull out in time. So yeah, I mean, it was a huge learning decision, and it was really heartbreaking at the time, you know, a mix of a divorce and then now, you know, a financial hit as well. But it taught me so many life lessons, and it taught me to really just, you know, there's no rush in buying a home. There's no rush in like living your life the way that society tells you to, you know, get married in your early 20s, you know, buy a home as soon as you're married, then get pregnant, have a baby. Like, I feel like that's kind of what society has framed us to think about, and, you know, has kind of encouraged us, or a lot of people, to see the value in that alone. Like, they don't really see the value in like a single woman building her career and like doing good for herself. Yeah, like I said, it taught me a lot about a lot of things. And yeah, I don't think I ever like actually shared the whole details of that, but there it is. Side note, I had to go to CVS yesterday and buy an entire full face of drugstore makeup because I had to retake my passport style photos, and I picked up the LA Girl concealer again. If anyone remembers old Aysha, just beginnings of YouTube, I was obsessed with this product, and I literally haven't used it since, and I don't know why, because it's so good. I love the fact, you guys know I like to carve my brows, but this already comes with a brush, so I don't need to use like double product, and it's just so good. This is the shade Toffee. I seriously forgot how good the e.l.f. brow gels are. I used the shades Dark Brown and Brunette. So bomb. But next question, this one is by, she actually does want to get a shout out. Her name is Ado Lifestyle, and she said some amazing things at first, so thank you so much. She said, my question, has there ever been a time where you felt like being a YouTuber was not meant for you? At what year did you start getting noticed? So, I mean, for those who know kind of my story, I started this when I was 16 years old. It was 2011, so we're going on 11 years now, which is insane to even think about. So like at the time, I wasn't really like pressed about whether I could be a YouTuber or not. Like, it wasn't really a thing. Like, it was like, you know, you posted videos if you liked to, but you didn't really tell anyone. Like, it wasn't really a big thing. I just like believe that honestly, if you put in hard work for anything, like, you can make it happen. I don't see why not. Obviously, if it's meant for you, it will come, whether it's now, whether it's like 10 years from now, like, you truly have no idea. But I do feel like if you work hard for something, like, you can achieve that, if it was meant for you. I guess what I can say is I never expected my full career to be being a YouTuber or like social media person because obviously, you know, I went to school for business administration and I graduated with my business and marketing degree. So I just kind of expected that I would be doing like brand marketing or something of that sort. By the way, using the Amicole Skin Enhancing Tint. This has been like my go-to product. I also got this brush yesterday through my CVS haul, my desperate CVS haul, and it's really good. It's by Real Techniques. But anyways, yeah, so because of that, like, YouTube was just kind of like a thing I like to do on the side, and it was just kind of like a way for me to like have a hobby and express myself and, you know, interact with the community that I was building. So I think like when I just finally decided, okay, I'm gonna give being a YouTuber a shot and see what happens, I had like no expectations for it. Like, I truly had no expectations. I hoped that it would work and I hoped that I'd be able to make a career out of it, but I also wouldn't say that I would have like been super upset if it didn't work out, because I had my backup of like, you know, being either like, you know, in the corporate world basically. Like, I did genuinely enjoy that work too. So yeah, I think because of that, like, there was never a time where I thought like, you know, I wouldn't be able to do this. But what year did I start getting noticed? I would say it was probably, I want to say like 2017, like literally the year that I went full-time is when I started getting noticed. I think at the time I had just over 50,000 subscribers, maybe like 60,000, I'm not really sure. And while that is like a big community, I wasn't growing my Instagram or anything, so I feel like people may have seen me or known of me on YouTube, but like not really anywhere else. But in 2017, I started posting a little bit more on Instagram, and like kind of was starting to build out a strategy on like how to kind of be a little bit more present on other social platforms other than YouTube. And I think like as soon as I started putting in the work, like that's when I started getting noticed. So I remember January of 2017, once I kind of decided that like this was the year that I was going to try to be a full-time YouTuber, I got invited to VidCon as a featured creator, which for anyone in the YouTube space knows how big of a deal that is. It's like kind of like a conference for all like the biggest YouTubers, and I had been watching that for like almost 10 years at that point and wanted to just go as like a fan of some of my favorite creators. So to be invited as a featured creator with under 100,000 subscribers, to be honest, I felt a little bit undeserving of it, but it was also a time where I was like, wait, like I am deserving of this. If I like, you know, as someone with under 100,000 subscribers on YouTube was able to get a seat at a table with people with like millions of followers, obviously I'm doing something right. So yeah, 2017 was when I started getting noticed. That's when I hit my first 100,000 subscribers. But keep in mind that was 6 years after I created my channel, so it was definitely a lot of time had passed. Another question someone asked is, how can I get your confidence just being so outgoing? To be honest, I feel like it's half personality and half just like, actually I would say it's a lot of my personality. I would consider myself an extrovert. I genuinely get energy from other people. Like, I love interacting with people. I love hearing their stories. I love hosting. Like, and I kind of just always have. I would say I kind of got that from my dad, definitely. My mom's more the introvert, which I feel like my brother took after. And I definitely took after my dad, and he's kind of always been like that. So I feel like having him as an example has always just made me someone who loves to interact and just like, I don't know, has this kind of like inner confidence. But I think like a way to kind of just like help with that is to just like not really doubt yourself. Not like, there isn't a reason why you shouldn't feel confident. Unless there's certain things that you feel insecure about, that you feel like is pulling you down. And you're making that a focus. Like, if you're making your insecurities a focus, you're not going to be confident. So, you know, acknowledging that like, while you may have insecurities, it doesn't define you. It's not a personality trait. You know, it's not what people first focus on the moment they meet you. Yeah, that's an easy way to just kind of like be more confident. And then I always say this, fake it till you make it. Fake being confident, fake being outgoing, even if it is super draining, which it can be even for me sometimes. And eventually you'll just kind of become that person. Does it get quite lonely having suhoor and iftar at home in LA when all of your life you had suhoor with your family? I would say yeah, it does kind of get lonely. Not so much anymore. I would say the first year that I moved here and the first year that I experienced Ramadan without my family was super hard. Even though at the time, you know, I was married and I was with another person, I feel like you can easily be lonely with another person too, especially if that person wasn't meant for you. So I think now, you know, I've been living here in LA for 3 years. I've been living on my own for about almost 2 years now. And I've just kind of gotten used to and have gotten to really appreciate my alone time. Like, I actually kind of enjoy it. I would say I definitely do really miss having iftar with my family, and I am going to Toronto very soon, so you know, I will be able to have that experience again. But it's also like not the worst thing. Like I can kind of just like have my own schedule. I can tap into myself. I can tap into my faith a little bit more without any distractions. But yeah, I mean, short answer, yeah, I do get lonely, but it's not the biggest deal, to be honest. I've been using this new concealer lately, and I actually really like it. I don't think I've mentioned it yet, so I did want to share. It's by Liss Beauty, which is a Black-owned clean skincare brand, or clean like makeup brand at Sephora. And yeah, this is their Triple Fix Full Coverage Brightening Concealer. I use the shade DN3 and I really like it. I've been using it a lot lately. So this is an interesting question. Someone asked, do you find yourself being almost, in quotes, blacklisted from a lot of family after knowing that you're divorced? I'm scared that I'll never be able to find a second husband that's genuine and righteous if I do get a divorce. It's like the #1 thing holding me back. Do I feel blacklisted from my family? Absolutely not. My family, from literally, you know, before the divorce actually happened to afterwards to now, have been the most supportive people in the world. Like I seriously could not have been more thankful for them. My family, my friends, even my like online community, I've received literally nothing but support. I think all of the feelings of like being inadequate, being unfit for marriage because you're divorced, feeling like you're gonna be like the outcast, I think a lot of that comes internally. It's like an internalized shame that a lot of women feel because of maybe societal standards. And I mean, I have to say I am privileged in the sense that like my family is super supportive, because I definitely know and acknowledge that not everyone is as lucky. But you know, there's nothing in Islam that says you are less of a woman or you are gonna be blacklisted or shamed from a community because of a divorce. You know, divorce is not haram for a reason. It is an option. No one should be in a miserable marriage. Your marriage should be peaceful. Your marriage should be something that you are proud of and everything. So if that's not the case, and if you feel like you've tried every possible thing that you could do to save it, like, then there's no shame in leaving that. Like, if anything, you are doing something for yourself, and you know, in that you'll be able to be more thankful and be able to worship, you know, your Lord in the most sincere way. So yeah, like I definitely don't feel like that, and there is plenty of men that don't care that a woman is divorced. Like, everyone has a past, and if anything, it's like, if people don't have an issue with women, like Muslim men in specific, if they don't have an issue with women having like ex-boyfriends, you know, ex-lovers, etc., why do they have an issue with, you know, a woman that has been divorced? Because she actually did it the halal way. You know, people have these quote-unquote haram relationships all the time, and then they break up with them, and it's just kind of like, oh, okay, that's fine, like, you move on to the next one, you know, find someone else. But it's like, a marriage, if anything, is the most sacred relationship that you can have, and if it doesn't work, then people should look at you as like, okay, well, she tried, it didn't work, so, you know, she's moving on to the next, and there's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I worked through that through therapy. Like, that was an issue that I was dealing with, you know, throughout the divorce as well. I was really nervous about that, like not being able to find someone again and feeling like I would be shamed or whatever it was. But like, now being almost 2 years out of it, like, it's definitely not the case. So if you're hearing it from me firsthand, then hopefully that gives you a little bit of clarity. Okay, let's get into the marriage questions, and then we'll get into other ones because there are so many. I'm in a rush to get married, but obviously there's cultural pressure. I work from home and honestly haven't heard the best thing about Muslim marriage apps. What's the best way to actually meet someone? I figured it's a good thing for me to start getting out of my comfort zone, even though I'm looking to get married ASAP. Will probably get my mom off my back too. Well, first of all, Muslim marriage apps, although yes, I've heard like, you know, my fair share of horrible things about it, I also have really close friends and people I consider family that have had success through Muslim marriage apps, that, you know, I've attended weddings of people that have met on Muslim marriage apps. So I don't think you should cross those off. I think where the issue lies here is that people don't move the same way with Muslim marriage apps that they do in real life. If someone comes up to you, say at a coffee shop or whatever it is, if someone comes up to you and they express interest in getting married in real life, you're not just gonna be like, okay, cool, like let's start talking, let's figure this out. You're gonna suss them out. You know, you are gonna have a conversation with them first, see if like this is even something that you wanna pursue. If it's not, you'll move on. Sometimes if someone comes up to you, it might just be like, I'm not interested, you know? And that's the same thing with apps. Like if someone is sharing interest in you, you do not have to continue talking to them. You can suss them out, girl, run your background checks if you need to. You can literally do the exact same thing that you would do in real life with a person online. So I think with us moving towards more of like a digital age, like online dating is kind of the new norm, because if social media, and like think about the way that you keep in contact with your friends and family now. Majority of the time you're probably interacting on Instagram, you know, you're probably interacting on whatever, you're sending each other tweets or TikToks or whatever it is. That's kind of the new age, like, you know, especially with the pandemic. I feel like people working from home now, like the only way you can meet majority of people is through the internet, unfortunately. So I don't think you should completely cross off online dating apps. I think that the stigma of them is starting to be released a little bit, which is great because it allows women the opportunity to widen their horizons a little bit. And, you know, yeah, give it a try. If you feel like there's no one in your direct city or something that you're connecting with, then girl, expand your search. Expand your search overseas, okay? Different states, different countries, whatever it is. Don't like block your blessings is basically what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I've been using a lot of cream products lately. This is by Westman Atelier. It's their contour stick in Ganache. I believe they just came out with the shade recently and I really like it. But another way, I guess, to meet someone is, I feel like mutuals, like ask around, ask some of your married friends, ask, you know, maybe your brother's friends, or just your brother. Ask around to see if someone else is interested in marriage or just getting to know each other for marriage. I feel like the term arranged marriage, it has like a negative connotation, but I think it can be positive, you know, like it's basically just like, it's like referring someone for a job, essentially. You aren't necessarily saying, okay, you're gonna accept this job. You're just gonna suss them out. You're gonna interview them. You're gonna, you know, run a background check. You're gonna check with their references. And if all goes well, then you can pursue it. And if not, then you move on to the next. So yeah, and then otherwise, I guess just like doing volunteer work in your community, in like your Muslim community, going to the mosque and asking around. You'd be surprised with how many people would actually want to help someone find their spouse. As you're going through your 20s, what have you added to your inner work lately? Not asking for myself, but asking for a younger audience. I think it's important for them to hear about the inner work that you've done to get to where you are now. Well done, Aysha. Well, thank you so much, first of all. I think definitely one of the best things that I could have done in my mid-20s was go to therapy. I did online therapy with BetterHelp. I feel like it was a really good way for me to kind of like know myself a little better, know why I have certain toxic traits, if any, learn how to cope with certain things. And I feel like it just felt good that like once a week I was doing something for myself, like I was showing up for myself. And I don't think that should be underestimated. It's a great thing to do, I feel like, especially in your 20s, because honestly, I feel like with any age, but especially in your 20s and your mid-20s, like I think that's the age where like people feel the most lost. And sometimes just venting to someone who has had experience, professional experience, can be extremely beneficial. I guess other inner work has been like growing my business and doing something that I'm passionate about, which is what I have focused on for the past couple of years. And I'm very thankful for that because, you know, with everything that I went through, I feel like there were times where I was like, you know, I just want to quit. I just want to fall off the face of the earth, and not put in the work to like help myself. but instead I chose kind of like the harder route, and I chose to just do everything that I could to become the best version of myself, and just learn exactly who I am so that I never have to question that again. Focusing on the more important things instead of focusing on just wanting to get married or like just wanting to have a baby or whatever else, you know, society pressures us to want to have in our mid-20s. Instead, putting that energy into myself and growing something that like I would be thankful for 10 years from now, you know? I never want to look back and feel like, damn, I wish I did this, damn, I wish I did that. And I would say I'm at a point in my life where like I am very, very happy with all the decisions that I have made. Okay, this is a long question. Someone said, I wanted to ask if you ever wanted to get married again. You look so content and at peace with who you are, and it's a vibe to watch. And I'm wondering if you'd like to get married again. I used to watch you when you were married. It was awkward to watch. Okay, this is a long comment. But I mean, yeah, I don't really know why people are asking why I want to get married again. Maybe some people after divorce feel so traumatized from it that they don't want to get married, but I definitely would love to, inshallah, when the time is right. And yeah, that's that. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with this blush, guys. It's called Bichette by Westman Atelier as well. It's the blush that I've been wearing in majority of my latest vlogs, and it's so pretty. My technique to apply it is to apply a lot, and then by the time I like powder and everything, it kind of like settles down a little bit. Moving on to questions from Instagram now. Someone asked, what's your opinion on having a kid after 30? I feel like if you had asked me this 5 years ago, my answer would have been really different, but I think actually going through life now, my answer is a lot more realistic, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. To be honest, I feel like I would actually be happier having a kid closer to my 30s, if not like when I turn 30, because I just have so many more things that I would like to accomplish now, and I have the time to. So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that, you know, we as a society always think that like the second you hit 30, your eggs are done for, and that is just not the case. There are women having kids in like their 40s, their mid 40s, and yes, while that may increase risks of certain things, at the end of the day, God will what he wills. Like, there is no doctor, no nothing that can say definitely this will happen if a woman gives birth after a certain age. It's just not the case, you know? It's just not the case. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think women nowadays are focusing on their careers, and I think that's beautiful. And if a woman wants to have kids after she turns 30, then that's fine. I mean, I'm pretty sure my mother had me at like 29. So like, or maybe even 30, I don't know. The whole misconception of like women not being able to conceive after 30 should just be wiped from the face of the earth, because it doesn't make any sense. And it's not even science-backed. Someone asked if I'm planning on moving back to Toronto. And short answer is no. But long answer is I am just like very happy with my life here in LA and just here in the US in general. I think regardless of however my life has now turned out to be, one thing is for sure, it's that like my business would not have been able to grow and succeed the way that it has without me moving here. And I'm always thankful for that. Like, I'm very thankful for everything, and I think that, you know, God shows you your true path in very mysterious ways. I thought I would be living a very different life by now, but I'm immensely thankful that it ended up the way that it did, because I know that like this is the divine path that like God has willed for me. So because of that, although I would love to like maybe even own property in Toronto, I definitely see myself spending summers in Toronto. Like, as I grow up and as I have kids and stuff, I definitely want them to feel like Toronto is their second home, because it is, you know, my first home. But in terms of living there, I just don't think I could. For anyone who knows me, I do not deal well with winter. Like, it makes me miserable. I can't, you know, create the same type of content that I want to create in that weather. It just, like I said, it makes me miserable, and I don't want that life. So, I mean, inshallah, I'm able to stay in a place that never has snow again, or very minimal amount of snow. But for now, I'm very happy in LA and happy with the life that I've built for myself here. I would love to like eventually move my parents out here, or like, I don't know, have them here on a more like consistent basis, just because I am a big family person, and that's the only reason I would ever, you know, ever consider moving back to Toronto, is just for my family. But I would much rather have them here instead of me go there, to be honest. This is hilarious. Someone said, not to sound white and ignorant, but aren't you hot in a hijab while living in LA? I think the misconception of LA is that it's always like blazing hot. Guys, I'm not in Dubai, I'm not in the desert. LA is actually a very like, I don't know how to explain it, but it actually does get cold here. In the summers, like everywhere in the summer, it gets pretty warm, but I wouldn't even say it gets warmer than like the East Coast, like Toronto or New York. I feel like those places definitely get a lot more hot than LA ever does. LA has a very like moderate climate all throughout the year. So I feel like it's actually the best place to live as a hijabi. Like seriously, it's the best place. Like to the point where like Khalijis from the Middle East actually come to LA. Like there are so many of them here in LA in the summertime because they're trying to escape Dubai and Saudi Arabia and like all of the Khaliji areas in their summers. Someone said, does living alone sometimes make you wish you lived in Canada with your fam? I would say yes. Like, I mean, kind of. I actually do enjoy living alone. I've mentioned this in a previous question. I do enjoy living alone, but I definitely really miss like my family time. There's a lot of moments where I'm like, I just wish I was with my family right now. Like anytime Eid comes around and I'm not there, like certain things like that make me really miss home and just like being at home and stuff. But to be honest, like I had a very independent life in Toronto, even though I lived at home. You know, my parents at the time were both working, my brother was working, he spends all his time in his bedroom. Like, other than Ramadan, we don't really see each other as consistently. So, yeah, I mean, it's, if anything, I'm able to kind of like focus on myself a little bit more here and work on myself a little bit more. So, yeah, I can get lonely, but I feel like everyone gets lonely. Literally everyone gets lonely, and it's just kind of a part of life. Someone asked if I'm gonna see my family this Ramadan. Ramadan daily with your dad just hits different. I 1000% agree. You guys love my dad, and I love that you love him so much. He is like so popular on here, and that truly makes me so happy. I genuinely feel like we are the same person. Like we get our personalities from each other, and like my dad is like the OG vlogger, guys. Like he, I swear, is the reason and the inspiration as to why I do what I do today. But yes, I will be going back home. I'm actually very, very excited for it. I haven't booked my flight yet, but I will soon. I'm just like, anyone who knows me, I'm just like a last minute booker. Like I will book like a couple days before I'm about to leave. But yeah, I will be reunited with the family very soon this Ramadan. I'm actually so excited to spend time with them and like my community center down there and everything, which you guys will obviously see when I go. So stay tuned. And for mascara, I'm probably gonna use these two. This is the Amicole mascara, and then the Size Up mascara by Sephora, which love her. By the way, if you guys don't know, I have a code with Sephora Collection. You can use it on Sephora, but it only works for Sephora Collection. You get 20% off all of their products. So yeah, check it out. It's Aysha20 and you get 20% off. And I believe that runs until the end of May. So definitely use it as soon as you can. Mascara is done. I wanted to show this highlight before we get into more questions. It's also by Westman Atelier. It is the prettiest highlight. You guys know, or maybe you don't, but I haven't really been using highlights as often because, I don't know, I'm just not a fan of like the shimmery look. But this is kind of like, it just adds like a sheen. And it's kind of like the same color as my skin tone. So I just like very lightly, I don't want to like remove any of the powder and foundation that I have on, but it kind of just like adds the glow back into your skin and kind of like makes it look like you actually don't have that much makeup on because of the glow. Like, you guys see that? It's just so beautiful. So I like to just kind of like tap that right at the top of my cheekbone. You could also just like apply it directly onto the face. I just find that sometimes it's easier to like warm it on the back of your hand and then tap, and that kind of like prevents any product lifting. This is the new Urban Decay Vitamin C highlighter, or Vitamin C all-nighter spray, and I really like it. It kind of adds like a little bit of a glow. It's super pretty. And then for lips, I've been loving the Refi, I don't even know what these things are called, Lip Sculpt. This is the one that I wanted to use. It's in the shade Sepia. This lip liner lasts so long. You put it on like a normal lip liner, and then there's like a long wear type of balm on the other side. And it's so good. But anyways, lots of questions about whether or not I'm in a relationship, whether or not I'm dating again, what the dating scene is like. And to be honest, I'm sorry to disappoint, but I am keeping that part of my life very private from now on. What I will say is that I have started, you know, over the past 2 years since I've been single now, or nearly 2 years, I have started, you know, having conversations with other people and stuff, but I'm gonna keep it at that. I'm not gonna share whether or not I'm in a relationship, whether I'm dating, anything like that, because to be honest, it's just, not to be rude, but you know, it's just no one's business right now, and it's something that I want to experience on my own. And although I can definitely give advice on it, when it comes to relationships, I'm keeping things very, very, very private. I'm also gonna use this shade, which is lighter. It's called Fawn, and I use that to kind of like fill in the rest of my lip. Someone asked, how did I overcome the whole divorce process? Are you still going through it? I actually have a lot of videos on this. So you guys can kind of see that. I feel like I shared kind of my whole healing process on the internet. So, oh, hold on. I'm getting that like white line because I've been fasting, obviously. My lips are so dry. But yeah, I feel like I shared kind of like my entire healing process online. So you can kind of follow that journey. I did private my like life update video where I shared the news about the divorce because I just feel like it's not, I don't know, it's just kind of like a sad video. I don't really want to, you know, people to continue looking back on that. I think it's obvious that I went through it and it no longer needs to be public on the internet. But alhamdulillah, I definitely feel like I'm on the other side of it. I don't feel like I'm going through it anymore. This is what the other side of the product looks like. It's kind of like this balm. It's like mattifying. It kind of reminds me of like a mattifying primer. I'm dead. Someone really asked, how is my husband? I get these comments like once in a while on my videos. Oops, sorry. And it just makes me laugh because I'm like, where have you been the past 2 years? Like, it's old news at this point. So sometimes I don't even comment, and like I'll see my subscribers comment and be like, girl, where have you been? She has been divorced for almost 2 years, but yeah. Someone asked my favorite hijab material. It's actually what I'm wearing right now. It's the Vela Model material. It's seriously unmatched. Like, I've tried other models before. I have powder all of this right now, but I've tried other models and it just does not compare to the Vela the Vela texture. It's easily my favorite. It is expensive, like I get that, but to be honest, I feel like it's definitely worth it, especially if you live somewhere with a warmer climate. I just feel like the texture of these are really nice, and yeah, I wear them literally every single day. But this is what the lip looks like. It's so pretty, and this is literally just 2 lip liners. I love it so much. I'm gonna add a little bit of some lip balm on top though, because my lips are very dry right now. This is the Summer Fridays lip balm. But as you can see, there's not even really any residue except for like right there, which is just from my crust. But there's not really much residue because like the lip liner kind of like, once you set it, it's kind of like a lip stain. I don't know how to explain it. It just like, it doesn't move and it doesn't transfer either. I don't know what Refi put into their formula, but I really like it. Okay, this is actually more of a advice question when it comes to dating, so I'm gonna answer this. Someone said, how are you navigating dating now that is completely different from how you did before? So I think the main difference, honestly, is like seeing everything as face value, not seeing potential. And anytime I see a red flag, I take that as an excuse to stop communicating with the person and like respectfully just be like, you know, I think we're looking for different things and move on. And I think that's okay. I feel like before I was very naive about the whole situation. I think my idea of marriage was like you just find someone that you get along with, you know, at the time, and then you kind of just like, you guys get married. There's not really a period where you guys talk about your financial goals, you know, your spiritual goals, your long-term goals, how many kids, like, just there's a lot more to the conversation that I would ask now that I didn't have any experience with in the past. So that's kind of how it's changed. I definitely tolerate a lot less now. And I also am in no rush. Like, I definitely, even though I was super young, I felt like maybe I was pressured because I was graduating. But now, honestly, I don't really have any pressure. I don't feel like I need to get married right away. I feel like I'm very happy and content with where my life is, where my career is, with living alone. Like, I genuinely love it. So there's less of like a pressure there. And I also feel like there's less of a pressure with my family, thankfully, because I went through a divorce. So they're like, girl, just figure it out. Take your time. And that pressure has kind of been alleviated. So to be honest, it is completely different. When you've outgrown a friendship, how do you navigate the conversation with the friend? To be honest, I'm still trying to figure this out. I feel like I'm not the best at like navigating conversations with like when you're ending a friendship and stuff like that. I kind of just like let it fizzle out, which isn't the most healthy thing. So maybe that's something I need to work on through therapy again. I don't know, or just being better at it. So to be honest, I don't really have the best advice for this. But if anyone does have advice for this, leave it in the comments below because I need to learn. Best and worst part of living in LA. I feel like there's many amazing things about living here. I would say the best parts, the weather. Truly, I feel like you pay and are taxed for the weather here, and I'm okay with that because it's amazing. I feel like definitely the career opportunities here for what I do, it has been really great. I love the lifestyle of LA. I love that like I can live in a city, get city vibes, but then also go to the beach. There's a lot of relaxation. I feel like people here are just a lot more chill and really take the time to just enjoy life. I would say the worst parts about living in LA are the traffic. The traffic absolutely sucks, and I used to like not have to deal with it as much because I lived in like mid-city, like the mid area of LA and like around it, but now being on the complete east side and like towards downtown, I am dealing with the traffic and it is not fun. It's not fun at all. And then the other worst part, I guess, like not having my family here, not having my childhood friends and cousins and stuff have been really unfortunate. And I would also say not having like the same Islamic community that I grew up with, because I was very comfortable with that. That was like my comfort, you know, definitely the Islamic community that I grew up with, and I don't necessarily have that here. And although I can find it, it's just like I feel like a little bit of an outsider sometimes. And maybe those of you who have like had to go to a new, you know, Islamic community center and have had to like build your new relationship with that kind of feel me on that, but it just doesn't really feel like home. Someone asked what under eye cream is the best. I have a feeling you'll say Biossance, but just making sure. The one that I've definitely used the most consistently has been the Biossance Peptide Eye Gel. It is my favorite. There's plenty of other great ones too, but yeah, I would definitely say that. Sephora collection is a close contender though, because it's super inexpensive and it's also really, really good in hydrating and brightening. So yeah, either one of those. Have you ever felt pressure to always please people, even if it was an inconvenience to you? Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, I am like just starting to learn how to not be a people pleaser, but it is seriously probably the hardest thing to try not to do. And yeah, I definitely feel like I'm a people pleaser. I do things that I don't want to do sometimes. I do things that will severely inconvenience my life. I do things that will not benefit me in any way because I simply just want to please that person. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with the fact that like I'm a first generation, you know, girl, the only girl born in my family, and there's just a lot of pressure with that growing up. So yeah, I'm starting to like be a little bit better at it, but I am not that great, to be honest. I'm not that great. And I think I kind of worked through this in therapy, and I think a lot of it has to do with like uncertainty and not knowing like how the other person will feel towards you if you don't please them in whatever way, like do something for them or, you know, go to a certain event or whatever it is. but that's not your decision. That's not like you can never be in control of how another person's gonna react to whatever you do. Whether you do something and you please them, they could still be upset with it. Whether you don't do it, they might not even care. So I just feel like a lot of it is an internal battle, and I suck at it, so definitely you're not alone in that. Someone asked if me and my ex are friends, and we are not. And yeah, I don't think either of us have any desire to be as well. But I think, like, you know, people who have exes that are friends, I think that's totally fine too. A lot of people have like kids with their ex-husbands and stuff. Alhamdulillah, I didn't, so yeah, I don't have to deal with that. But there's no like animosity. I just like, I don't see the point. Tips on making Muslim friends. I love the vibes in your friend group, your iftar in your vlog. To be honest, majority of the friends that I've met, especially in LA, have been either through other people. So, you know, you meet someone and they have a mutual friend and we all hang out and then you guys become friends. Or it's been through the internet. Like, to be honest, there was a period where like Clubhouse was really popular. I think this was like the end of 2020. And I met like majority of my friends in LA through that, and like I'm so thankful for that because they've genuinely become like friends that I will be friends with for a long time, like lifelong friends, and I'm very thankful for that. So yeah, the internet. It might be weird to some people, but my career's on the internet. Everything I do is on the internet, so it makes sense that I would also then meet friends on the internet. But they've become like IRL friends now. But one thing also is like if someone invites you out or like you met someone, I think following up with them, like a lot of people don't do that. They just kind of like become internet friends and like that's kind of where it stays. But follow up with people. If you're in the same city, invite them out to lunch or grab coffee together, do an activity together, go to the beach together, like literally anything. You have to kind of put yourself out there, not wait for them to make the first move sometimes. Just do it yourself. Be like, hey, let's hang out today. And if they say yes, they say yes. If they say no, you move on to the next. But it's like, sometimes, unfortunately, you have to do things you don't want to do. Like, yes, would it be nicer if I stayed on my couch and watched Netflix all night? Probably would enjoy that, you know? But sometimes it's good to just say yes to hanging out, say yes to going over to someone's house, say yes to seeing that movie with someone, going to the beach, etc., because it could potentially lead to someone that will be a lifelong friend of yours in the future. Okay, one thing that I will answer, because I think this will probably help people, and I'm gonna leave it at this because there's so many other questions, so I'd love to do another Q&A in the future or like continue answering these in a future vlog. But I know I've been very hush-hush about like my divorce and like my past marriage and stuff. And that's just because I feel like a lot of the time it's not good, it's not in good faith to like share the tea or whatever. It's not who I am as a person either. But someone did ask, what were red flags in your previous relationship/relationships? And to keep things very general, I will just say lack of communication. I think the term that everyone says, communication is key, is so important. And if either parties are not able to communicate their full feelings, there will be unfortunate circumstances, because you can't learn and you can't grow and you can't love someone unless you're communicating, you know, how you want to be treated, you know, what you don't appreciate, what you do appreciate in a relationship. Nothing can be accomplished without proper communication, and that goes for any relationship, whether it's platonic, whether it's romantic, whether it's a marriage, regardless. Communication is key. So I'm gonna leave it at that, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this Q&A. If you did, give it a thumbs up. My makeup is now done and it's looking very pretty. Let me show you guys in more like natural daylight so you can kind of see what it looks like. I'm gonna link all the products that I used in the description box down below, but this has been kind of like my everyday makeup look. There we go. So glowy, so beautiful. I'm obsessed with that blush and highlight duo from Westman Atelier. It's seriously gorgeous. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Ramadan Daily. Please make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss any future videos. Of course, be sure to donate to Islamic Relief USA to help them provide more food packages for our Muslim brothers and sisters in Ethiopia. I will have the link at the top of my description. And thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next vlog. Bye!